And we are live, 2 p.m. Sunday. Welcome back, everybody. Excited to get started. Just came off of another meeting with a couple of really cool people, a senator and a representative, and a bunch of folks from the MyDFL across the state. So that was really fun. So I'm excited to kind of share that with you guys too. So let me see. So I've got 3 people on. We are still playing around with if I can see who's on from the live as we're going. Currently, I can't. So if you are watching, put an emoji in the comments, comment how you're doing, comment how you're feeling, and then I can see who's actually watching too, and I can react to you in real time. Otherwise, I just see it later on. So yeah. So hi, Molly. Got a couple other folks. I'll give you guys another minute or two. Sorry for my squeaky chair here. It is a gorgeous day outside. I cannot wait to get out there. It's been a week of really stressful work and really intense campaigning too. So really, really exciting stuff. It's just intense, so I'm ready for a little break. Hopefully I can get on the paddleboard today. It's a little less windy than yesterday. And my dog would like to go this time too. He didn't get to go last time. He's giving me the sad eyes from over there. All right, friends, let's get started. Hey, Nancy, I'm going to answer part of your question that you emailed me about today, so get excited. All right, and I'll just keep reminding you guys, for those that just joined, comment in the comments, put an emoji up. Hey, how's it going? It is gorgeous out there. I can't not wait to get outside. So let's get rolling. I have so much to talk about. So we've gotten a few less comments than or questions submitted throughout the week since last week, but I will address those. And then there's some really important stuff that's come up that we've gotten repeated questions about, so I want to address that as well. So just to remind everyone, if you've got a question, throw it in the comments. You can also submit things online. We've got on my website, www.addie4mn.com. That's ADDIEFORMN.com, spelled out. We've got a form on there where you can submit a question ahead of time. You can always email me, text me, DM me, message me, whatever, and we will get the question answered. Literally no stupid questions. There's nothing that I won't, almost nothing that I won't answer. There's a few kind of silly ones that I won't address, but we'll get to those when they come. We haven't had many, so. All right, so let's give you a campaign update first. Campaign-wise, of course, we're still all online, all virtual, all on phones. Right now, we are in our last day for the convention endorsement process. So if you are a delegate, you have until tomorrow, Monday, to get your ballot in. You should have received that in your email, I believe, a week ago today. If you haven't filled it out, it's super easy. There is a little issue. If you're filling it out on an iPhone, the submit button is kind of hidden. So I'd recommend filling it out on your laptop. We actually, Carver County, guys, we're doing really well. We're at about 88% as of last night at midnight endorsement rate. So we do have a quorum. The quorum was 50% to endorse, and you have to get 60% of the vote to be endorsed. So again, I'm not running against any other Democrats. I'm the only one in the race. So the vote was to either endorse me, or not vote. So hopefully we're going to be endorsed at the end of this process, but really want to make sure we get those in. There are other Senate districts that are not at quorum yet. They're at about 40 or 50%. So I'm really, really thankful that we're all staying engaged and getting those ballots in, and we're at 88%. So hopefully this campaign will be endorsed by the DFL, and then Arlen Brinkmeyer is on the A side, Dan Kessler's on the B side, and we're over quorum for both of those as well. So we should be in good shape. Just keep going at it. If you haven't done it yet, we're just going to keep calling you and emailing you until you get it done. So yeah, appreciate your participation there. And basically, just so you guys know what, yeah, Jay said everybody share the stream. That is a really good idea. You can also host watch parties. I'm going to mention that again at the end, but if you want to host a watch party and you don't know how, we can help you do that. Just let us know. But sharing this stream, yay, thank you, Lisa. Got hers in. I feel like I did see your name on the list of submitted ones, so I think you're good. But yes, thank you for doing that. Yes, so sharing the stream, hosting watch parties, telling your friends about it. We also post this on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So share. This is the only way I can actually interact and talk to people basically face-to-face. Digital beer. I actually did think about that as like a kind of fundraiser idea. Anyway, but yeah, we could do that. I'm all about it. If you're drinking responsibly at your house, just do it. Keep doing it. Hey, Kay, how's it going? Hope you guys are hanging in there over in Victoria. Oh, beautiful, beautiful day. So, okay. So for those of you who don't know what endorsement means, we need to have basically, in order to get access to any kind of funding that the DFL is going to provide, either at the state party level or the county level, basically the Senate district, we need to be endorsed by the Senate district or by the DFL in order to run so when candidates are on the ballot, you see D or R or I next to their name. You might see G for Green Party. You might, I actually have not seen anyone that doesn't have a party. So in order to get that, you do have to be endorsed. And so you want that party affiliation, whether it's helpful or not out here, we have yet to see. But it's going to give us a lot of access to a lot more help to get this done, to get this district flipped, and to get this campaign across the finish line. So really, really important. Thank you all for continuing to be engaged in that process. So this weekend, this team has made hundreds of phone calls, and I'm just so beyond thrilled. So we're making phone calls and texting and getting in touch with voters from across the district. We've got about 30,000 voters that have never been contacted by a campaign at all that we are aware of. So we're trying to tackle that list right now. So Nancy, to part of your question, I don't want to give all of my campaign secrets away on a public forum, but I will say a couple things about it. So if you're interested in volunteering, this is the time to do it. So this is kind of the easier soft ask that we're doing. We're not having big persuasion conversations. We're not telling people like you have to vote for Addie right now. We're just inviting people in. So we're building a really good community and getting people connected. So we're doing things like inviting folks to the town hall on Sundays and checking to see if they're okay, if they need any services or need to be connected to someone, that kind of thing. So all right. Yep. Just looking in the comments there. So this is the fun time to do it. These are not the tough conversations yet. So we do provide one-on-one training or group training. If you're doing like a group Zoom call, my campaign manager is one of the most amazing volunteer trainers I've ever watched in my life. So he can set you up with that. Really, really great. Kind of you're not going in blind. You're going in with what you need to say and how you're going to say it. So and we can run through drills with you too, so you're more comfortable. We also are doing a big texting program, so we can text voters instead of calling them. We actually get a little bit more text back rate, or rather like response rate, than we do on the phones. And in both of them, really, in my past campaign experience, the phones have been about 10% effective, texting maybe 12-ish% effective. Whereas door knocking is about 30%. Digital's a little bit higher for reach, but not engagement, so that kind of thing. But since everyone's been home and in quarantine, people are really willing to get on the phone and talk to you. I had a almost 40-minute conversation with a business owner yesterday, just talking about things that I had no idea about. And it was great, honestly. I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that later. So endorsements, we've got a couple screenings coming up. A lot of folks, individuals and groups, like to wait until after session to get those endorsements done. So we've got a lot coming up after session, which is supposed to end May 18th. We shall see. So we've got a couple coming up in the next few weeks. So one thing about that, we are having personal, individuals endorse this campaign. This campaign is not about me and what I want to get done. Of course, I have a big grand vision for what Carver County deserves and what we want to get done, but this is about what we can build together. So this is about taking your ideas, running them through me, and me making them happen for you, basically. So that involves a lot of building communities and building the system of folks. So if you feel very strongly about this campaign, you're a big supporter, please, please, please get in touch with us. We have, I don't know if it's up there yet, but we are working on a link where you can submit your endorsement of this campaign. So say, I'm voting for Addie, here's why. Here's what she can get done. Here's what, we had this great conversation this one day, and whatever it might be. Anything is going to help. So it's going to be really helpful to have folks that aren't necessarily what I am. So maybe folks that are a little older than me, or a different gender than me, different race than me, like that kind of thing. That's really important to us as a campaign, to have every seat at every person in a seat at the table, have that table as big and full as it can be. That's how we get really good ideas and really well thought out plans. So if you are willing to endorse, that would be wonderful. Get in touch with us and we can get that going for you. I believe, and my team in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we're going to have a little kind of graphic that we're going to create with a quote and your picture if you're comfortable with that. And you can also remain first name only if that's what you'd like. We're probably going to do first name and last initial, but we can kind of work with whatever you're comfortable with. So that would be really helpful. And ask your friends and neighbors to do the same thing. So if you have a business, if you have a volunteer group, any kind of group, also submit that through the website as well. There's some mowing going on outside. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so we will move on to the COVID-19 update. I'm going to keep this really short today because we have a lot of really good positive stuff to get to. So I don't want to bog everyone down the negativity too much. We've got a lot of that happening, and I'm trying to be really intentional in keeping the positivity and hopefulness up in this campaign because I think that's what we need right now, more than ever. I mean, we need it all the time, really, but more than ever right now. So quick summary today, as of today, we are at 6,663 cases in Minnesota, confirmed cases. We are at 26 in Carver County. And a couple of those have recovered now, is my understanding. So that's good. We're still at the rate where we're having more people affected, confirmed affected, than recovered. And testing is not quite where we need it to be yet, but it's on its way. So we're still on the uphill slope. It is not time to fully reopen and let everyone go back to whatever is normal, whatever normal looks like after this yet, but we are on our way. So let's see, taxes. I actually posted about this a couple of days ago. I was early in paying my taxes, my federal and state taxes this year. The deadline has been extended to July 15th. So you do have until then to pay your taxes. If you can, get it in now. I know that I felt so proud and patriotic that I could get that to the country and to the state because we're needing it now more than ever. And if we're delaying payments, that might delay some things, some really necessary relief down the road. So I don't want to be a part of that, contributing to that delay. So I'm in a place where I'm comfortable doing that, and I was able to do it. So if you are, I would highly suggest it. Not waiting just because you can, only wait if you need to. If you need to, that's completely acceptable, and that's why they did that. So so that deadline is, again, July 15th. Carver County property taxes. There is a little bit, so the county board voted, I think on the 21st, to allow a 30-day abatement of penalties and interest on taxes due May 15th. So got a few more days left, and then there's a 30-day abatement as well. So if you have questions about that, I can help you get in touch with the board. And of course, there's a lot of really great information on the website as well. And I know Commissioner Maluchnik is really good at explaining things to people that are in like basic layman's terms. So if you need help there, I'm happy to connect you guys with him too. The CDC and the state are saying to wear your masks when you go outside. I've only gone outside of my house twice in the last 57 days. That's a lot. I didn't realize 57. Yes, 57. Last time I went to the grocery store, there was a lot of folks not wearing masks, which was really upsetting. The CDC is suggesting that or highly, strongly suggesting that we wear them, and the state is as well. So just, do your part. There's a lot of really great organizations and folks online making masks, selling them, not expensive. If you're having trouble getting a hold of one or you need assistance getting one, let me know, and I'm happy to help you with that. And I believe the Sheriff's Department, I think, and the Fire Department in Chaska and Chanhassen can help you as well. Currently, we are third county in the nation to be filling out our census, which is awesome. So there's a county in New Mexico that's like the return rate is, 80 something percent. We're at about 72%, I think. So the only county in the middle on that second is Washington County. So we have got to beat Washington County in our census return. So if you have not filled out your census yet, it takes about 10 minutes. Really, really vitally important. I've talked about it on a previous town hall. So you can go back and watch that, or you can message me and ask me questions why we have to do this, what's important, what the rules are, that kind of thing. And let's get that done. It's super easy. Jay, Aldi's, Chanhassen, and most had masks. And employees, good. The employees all had masks. That's awesome. I've been to a grocery store where they did not, and it's a little crazy to me. So I think businesses should be encouraging their workers to be safe and protect themselves and protect the customers. So keep spreading the good word that we've got to keep wearing our masks, washing our hands, don't touch your face. You know, we all know the drill by now. Let's just get it done. We can. It's tough. But we can keep staying inside. I saw this meme the other day that was like, you know, your grandparents were asked to go off to war. You're being asked to sit on your couch. You know, we can do this. This is possible. All right. Let's touch on the census. So testing update. I have been in a couple of meetings with, and I've talked about this before with Dr. Jacob Toller from the U of M, Dean of the Medical School. Really, okay, makes masks too. Oh yeah, you have that whole sewing. Yes, okay. We have lots of connections for masks for you guys. So anyway, so the U of M and Mayo partnered to increase the testing capacity in Minnesota. So the goal is to get to about between 20 and 40,000 tests a day. We're not quite there yet. There's a couple little snags in the road that they're hitting, but testing is ramping up a lot. So on that mn.gov/COVID-19 website, there's a link on there to find a testing center, and you can call them. And there's also online resources where you can, type in if you have symptoms, if you don't have symptoms, what symptoms you have, like should you go get tested or should you not? So this, I believe, is the test to see if you have it currently, if you are currently shedding the virus. I don't believe this is the test, the serology test, to say if you've had it and you've recovered. So we're still waiting for that. I know my parents both think that they might have had it a couple months ago, which if that's the case and my mom survived it, that's a miracle. So we're kind of waiting for that. So I know that's still coming. People are still working on it. Last I talked with the dean of the medical school, or was in a meeting with him rather, there was about 60 some companies, private companies in Minnesota working on that serology test and on a vaccine as well. Different companies, of course. So we'll see. I think, our prediction, the governor's prediction of Minnesota being the one state to lead us out of this mess is so accurate. And we are so, so blessed to live in the state that has a medical community that truly cares and is just innovative in every way possible. So thank you all. If you're involved in that, thank you so much for leading us out of this. All right, we've got a couple more people that joined. If you, I can't see who's watching it in real time. So if you want to leave an emoji in the comments, I can say hi to you and drop any questions or comments or stories in there too. And I will make sure we read them. Let's see. I did get a text that came in, so I just want to double check. Oh, we got another delegate that filled out their ballot. Thank you, Lucy. That's awesome. Cool. One thing I do want to really highlight that I've talked with a couple folks on different city boards and county boards and stuff this week, and they wanted me to mention on here that the Carver County Helpline is staffed, I believe, from 8 or 9 in the morning till 3 p.m. That helpline can connect you to any service that you need in Carver County, whether it's mental health, whether it's if there's a homelessness issue, whatever it might be. So I want to give you guys that number, and I will actually put it in the comment as well. It's 952-361-1559. So that is in the comments. If you are in Carver County and you need anything, call that number. They can help you. All right, so switching to, unless anyone has questions about that, you want to drop them in the comments. Any questions about COVID-19 updates, let me know. Otherwise, we'll move to our positive news. That's my favorite part of these town halls is we get to give you some positive news updates. So I learned yesterday that through those couple city council members that I was speaking with, that Victoria and Chaska, I believe for about 2 hours yesterday, each had their volunteer fire departments and police units going out to birthday parades. I think the Victoria City Council had 31 requests for birthday parades, and that was fulfilled yesterday. So that's really cool. If you guys saw one, let me know. And if you're looking forward to one, let me know. So that's really cool that we are able to come together and do that. And for the volunteers to want to do it and show up and do it. That's amazing. Let's see. Oh, Carver. Yes, Carver had a drive-by car show. So I don't really know how they organized it. I just saw pictures of it and heard about it, that they had kind of like a vintage car show drive-through, which is awesome. So way to go, guys. There are a few stores around the district that are having GoFundMes to stay afloat, and those have been doing really well. If you are looking to donate to a store, a small business, to help them when we get to reopen, to help them still be in business, let me know and I can connect you guys with those. One of them is owned by a good friend of mine, and it's the cutest little store in the town. So I'm happy to connect you guys with that as well. Okay, really, really big news. Carver County got a $34,000 grant to help from DHS to help shelter the homeless in Carver County. I believe there's 3 different organizations or 3 different facilities that are going to be helping homeless folks that have been affected by this or, need a safe place to go. So again, calling that number, if that's a service that you need, call that number and they can help you. They just got $34,000 from DHS to help with that. So DHS has had its issues, that's for sure, but they're doing this right and they're getting us the money that we need. So thank you to our board for getting that done and for putting those into action, putting those dollars to work right away. I know they've helped a lot of folks in the last week, so really, really great. Watertown Chamber of Commerce voted to give each Watertown resident, which I believe it's just Watertown proper, it's not the township, a $60 check. So it's, everybody pitching in to help each other, no matter how little it is, that makes a huge difference. That $60 could be groceries for the week for some family that can't afford it, or, paying an electric bill or something. So really, really awesome that they did that. So throughout the last week, and on this town hall last week, I told you guys I was going to call different business owners and talk about what reopening looks like, how they've been affected by this pandemic and that kind of thing. So I have been doing that. A couple have asked to remain anonymous, so I won't be naming a lot of them here. Really interesting conversations. We've had quite a mix of folks that are still open and they're doing really great. Folks that are still open and not doing so great, or they've moved to online sales and they're just trying to, manage the administration of those online sales. And then there's a few, unfortunately, that have closed entirely. We do have a few of those casualties in our district, and that's really, really sad to see that happen. So continuing for all of us to pitch in and continue to purchase things from these businesses. Maybe it's a gift card, maybe it's prepaying for an appointment, whatever it looks like. Please reach out to those businesses that you really care about and you don't want to see them go under, and do what you can to help. Maybe it's as simple as sharing a post. You never know who might see that and be able to help out. So we're trying to stick together and pull everybody through this. It's going to be really tough, but I know Carver County is capable of it. We're capable of a lot. So one person that I talked to has already prepared their shop to open. So doing hugely, hugely great things, enormous changes in the way that they do business. So measuring out the different stations, making sure they're 8 feet apart. And she had researched the cubic footage of her space and purchased the specific kind of air filter that does filter out those kind of virus molecules, and is going to place them differently, and, ordered all this contactless stuff and has a whole system set up. So when people come in and out, they can discard of their masks on one side and a gown on the other. And just incredible things that I wish, of course, in an ideal world, we would not have to do this, but folks are already doing it. No government has asked them to do it. No one's, reached out and said, you need to change this, this, and this for your business to reopen, but folks are trying to do it and get ahead of it. So it's really hopeful to see that. That brings me a lot of hope that when we do get the green light to reopen certain businesses, they will be ready to go. Almost everyone, actually, yes, everyone I talked to has said that they have changed the way that their business is operating currently or will operate. So the other side of this, that new normal, is going to be really different, but the folks that I talked to were prepared for that kind of thing. So it gives me a lot of hope in our business owners in this district, in this county, that they will be capable, more than capable, and prepared for the event that we do open up. So there are a lot of differing opinions on when we should open, what needs to happen before we reopen. I'm curious to see what everyone thinks. So everyone that's viewing this later and everyone that's viewing this now, if you could send me an email, what does that look like for you? Who do you think we should listen to? What, should we be doing before we open? What benchmarks do we have to pass before we just fully reopen everything? Maybe it happens in stages and that kind of thing. But yeah, just let me know what you think. I've got my opinions for sure, but I'm really curious what everyone else has to say about that. So I know I have a lot of faith in Governor Walz, and I believe the last public poll that I saw, showed that Minnesotans overwhelmingly support his reaction to this and handling of this pandemic. I trust the models that we are using after talking in that meeting with Dr. Tolar. The modeling is tough. It's based on, and we've talked about this in previous town halls too. The modeling is based on a lot of assumptions. It's the best that we've got, and it's better than a lot of other states are using. So I'm really, hopeful that we are using the best data that we have available to us. I have a lot of trust in that. All right, so let's switch over. No comments or questions yet? Keep them coming if you got them. And we will switch over to, I would love to touch on voting in other ways. We talked about this a little bit, but I want to go into more detail today on voting in other ways other than on election day in the poll, at the polls. So you can vote by mail, which is what I'm advocating for, really, really hard. I've done it almost my whole voting career, except for the last election, the last primary election, or Super Tuesday, rather. It's easy. It's very easy, and it keeps you safe. It keeps you at home. Hey, Jess. I hope your race is going well too. I love Jess. So voting by mail. So you can request your absentee ballot. You don't have to have an excuse. You don't have to say, I'm going to be out of town. You say nothing. It's just an application. You can request that starting on May 13th. So coming up here pretty soon, 10 days. You can start requesting that online through the Secretary of State's website. That's mailed to you. You review all of the instructions really, really carefully. So you've got to match up your signatures. There's an order to which things have to happen. Those are all really, really clear. And folks at the Secretary of State's office are more than willing to help talk you through things too. So if you are voting by mail, don't be afraid to call and reach out. So your witness, you do have to have a witness watch you fill out your ballot, and they have to sign that themselves and provide their address as well. That witness has to either be someone who is registered to vote in Minnesota or a notary. There are no other requirements. So someone you live with that's also registered to vote, that person does count. So if you are not registered to vote and you're voting by mail, they'll send you your application to register because we have same-day registration in Minnesota. So you don't have to register ahead of time. That is just an extra step that witness has to check an ID, mark down some information, and sign off that they checked that ID. So just another step, but it's still available and still super easy. Highly, highly recommend that. So the witness signs, you mail it away, and just to remind you, if it has to be received by election day to count. So it can't be postmarked by election day. It has to be received by election day. So you can apply for that absentee ballot all the way up until the day before the election, but that's not going to give you enough time to have it mailed to you, fill it out, have your witness sign, mail it back in. So make sure you're leaving enough time to get that done. That's going to be the safest way for us to vote, regardless of what November looks like. If you really, really love voting in person on election day, but you're nervous about what's going to happen, maybe it looks different this year, I would request the absentee ballot and you can drop it off in person at the polls. So you can fill it out and you can drop it off before 3 p.m. on election day at the polls, and that still counts. So if that's something that's really important to you, like it is to my dad and brother, that you can, that's another option as well. All right. An agent delivery. So an agent, there's a lot of rules around an agent. So an agent is someone that can go pick it up for you and drop it off for you. That agent, to qualify to have agent deliveries, what they call it, you have to live in one of these things: a nursing home, assisted living, a residential treatment center, a group home, a women's shelter, or be hospitalized or otherwise incapacitated to physically go vote. So you have to qualify for it. Your agent has to be at least 18 years old or older and have a pre-existing relationship with you. That's super important too. So it can't be some random person off the street. It has to be someone that you know or are aware of or have communicated with before. Cannot be a candidate. So I will not be an agent for anybody this year. But I'm happy to talk people through it up, as long as it's legal, but I can't be your agent for you. You can request your agent delivery and absentee ballot form, both of those online, Secretary of State's website. You can have that agent take your ballot application and the ballot form to the absentee ballot form to a local election office if you don't want to submit it online, beginning up to 7 days before the election. So they can grab your ballot for you, bring it back, and then have you fill it out. They can drop it off up to 2 p.m. before on election day at a polling place. Actually, it's not at a polling place. It's at the election centers, which we only have 2 in this district. So scratch that. So those election centers, just so you guys know too, are if you are not Watertown, Waconia, if you're a Waconia resident, so not Waconia Township, you have to live in Waconia proper, you can use the Waconia City election office, which I believe is just City Hall. Secretary of State's website has that address on there as well. Everybody else needs to go to the county seat in Chaska, and it's really easy. It's beautiful in there too. If you haven't been, please go when we are safe to do so. So we touched on this a little bit two town halls ago, that there was an elections bill, maybe it was last week, elections bill up in Ways and Means that would allow a little more flexibility with who can help you with your ballot, who can be your agent, and mail-in processes. That bill was up in Ways and Means. It passed to the general register from the House. So it had only 2 no votes, which is pretty great for an elections bill, or it was a big bill with an elections section of it. So that's pretty major to only have 2 no votes. And now it's in the general register. I believe the Senate has a different version of it, also on their general orders. So we'll see what happens with that. There's also a couple different options to vote early in person at those 2 election centers that I mentioned. And then if you're in the military or you're abroad and you're stuck abroad, let us know. There's a whole nother process for that, and we can help get that information for you ahead of time. All right. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. I got a lot to say today. If you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Tell a story. I'll read it out loud to folks, whatever. So let's swap to a committee Capitol update. Yep, that's where we're going next. Capitol update. So what is happening at the Capitol right now? Basically, committees are winding down. Most of our stuff has been put together in packages and sent out to the next step, or it's still in negotiation. So that all should start winding down by the end of this week. My one committee that I am the committee administrator for, the Environment Policy Committee, we had done most of our work before the quarantine happened, the stay-at-home order happened. So all of our stuff went over to Environment Finance. They rolled it into the Environment Finance bill and packaged it together, and they have moved on from there. There's parts of that have overwhelming bipartisan support, and it was really cool to see Chair Purcell, who I work for, the representative from Bemidji, get unanimous consent to move a couple of the pieces of those bills. I've seen a lot of really great bipartisan work, and I've mentioned this time and time again, and I will continue to mention it. I've seen that happen. A unanimous vote on a bill to get out of committee doesn't happen just by chance. It happens with lots of good conversations, with putting in the work, with meeting with folks from the other side of the aisle, meeting with folks that are against the bill and don't agree with the bill, and figuring out what the best option is to move it forward. Really dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's and having that preparation done before that meeting happens. Hugely helpful. So I got to watch that happen twice this week with Chair Purcell's, two of Chair Purcell's bills. So really, really cool. So committee stuff is, again, winding down. Next week is basically going to be, or the following week, not this upcoming week, next week is going to be basically for a lot of sessions, floor sessions. So you're going to see a lot of speeches, a lot of probably really fiery speeches, and a lot of voting. So I know that the House is still working on remote voting, so I'm not sure how it's going to look, if they're doing roll call votes or voting via the forms that they're playing around with now. So Justin, intelligence, experience, compassion are qualities Carver County needs. I know Addie has all of these, and I'm proud to support her. I really, really appreciate that, Justin. Thank you. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I'm proud to be running. I know it's a crazy year and it's an uphill battle, but I'm so proud to be running. I'm proud to champion our voices at the Capitol. So like I had mentioned, the House is still working on remote voting, remote debating. We'll see how that looks. One major piece of news that came out either early this morning or late yesterday is that the Republican caucus in the House is going to hold up the bonding bill until the peacetime emergency is over and Governor Walz doesn't have those peacetime emergency powers anymore. That is exactly the kind of partisan gamesmanship that I don't play. I'm never going to play that. I don't subscribe to that. I don't think that's right. You're holding up really good projects in order to get something else done. And that's not what the people need. That's not what we're asking for. That's not what we want. If you feel strongly about the governor's powers being taken away, there are ways to get that done with bipartisan efforts and conversations and meetings and data. It's not holding a bill hostage in order to get something else passed. So that's really upsetting to me, and that's something that I never, ever want to do. I'm not, like Chair Purcell always says, he doesn't play in that sandbox. I'm the exact same way. I don't play those games. I don't play in that sandbox. I think that's just the absolute wrong thing to do. And why it's such a big deal for the bonding bill to be the one that's being held up is that is money that can put Minnesotans back to work and get some really good projects done that need to happen. Just so you guys know what's at stake for us in Carver County, there are three projects that specifically in Carver County that bonding bill won't happen because of these partisan games. So our Representative Nash didn't submit any this year. Representative Bowe on the B side and Senator Jensen did. So just so you guys know, the three projects, it's funding for Lake Waconia Regional Park upgrades, to upgrade Lyman Boulevard and Chanhassen, and Highway 41 and 61 improvements. So if you guys have driven on those roads, you know that those are very, very necessary. Bonding isn't everyone's favorite to fight for, but it's really necessary. Those are jobs that Minnesotans need right now. Those are improvements that we need, and to not have it go through because we're holding hostage on something. So it's a interesting dynamic for a caucus leader to put their caucus in that position. So this decision is going to force a lot of folks to vote against their own interests. If they choose to vote with their party, they are choosing to vote against their own interests and the interests of their constituents. And that's not cool. That's not something I ever plan to do. So we'll see how that looks and how this winds up, but it's really disappointing to hear that could happen. The other super big disappointment in that, there's hundreds of bonding requests and bonding projects. HEAPR is the other one. So that's the Higher Education Asset and Resource Preservation Project. Just being on the higher ed committee, being with the higher ed committee, we've seen photos and her testimony of, students that are medical students or child intelligence development researchers that have to practice in a lab that has holes in the roof leaking through. And, it's things like that. Upgrades to the data privacy, which we voted for an upgrade to data privacy for our K-12 system here. So the higher education system from Minnesota State colleges and universities, they need an upgrade that's very similar and very expensive. That's a request as well, and not necessarily a bonding project, but it is funding related to any other project. That kind of stuff's not going to happen if these partisan games keep going on. So really disappointing to see. In my meeting this morning that I just came back from, a senator was explaining that there are some agreements that are being made. The Senate wants to take away the eviction moratorium. They want an end date for it. And that's fine. We can probably agree on that if we continue having those conversations. But the people that are pushing for that also want to take away the governor's right to reissue a moratorium order. That seems crazy to me. So, of course, they're not going to agree on that. They're kind of moving the targets. So we'll see how those end up. All right. If you guys have more questions about that, I'm really happy to continue talking about it. I know we're running a little bit short on time, so I'll leave the rest of this section and then we'll come back if we've got time. But if you've got questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. This agenda is not set in stone, so we can deviate at any time. So the most overwhelming amount of questions I received this week, I'm going to word this carefully, are relating to decorum and custom in the Minnesota legislature. So I wanted to touch on that and how I plan to represent our county to the best of my ability. So I'm going to preface this by saying there's a lot of commenting on people's appearances that happens, and I don't think that that's helpful regardless of what party you're from, regardless of what you're running for. So that's not something that I ever plan to do. I did meet Julia Coleman once. She is one of the folks running for the Republican endorsement for this race. And it was a great conversation, honestly. And we talked about running as women, being female candidates in this crazy political world. And we both agreed, of course, there's a lot we don't agree on, right? But we did both agree that talking about someone's lifestyle or appearance is not helpful. And it's something that women uniquely have to battle. It's like an extra step. For example, she has a young child and she was getting some questions about how is she going to be a good senator if she has a child at home to care for. You never hear men get that question. So it's really frustrating and disheartening to hear things like that. I know I've gotten some questions on my appearance, and I know other women that are running that same thing. It's not helpful. So I'm not going to get into that discussion of how someone should look. I choose personally to dress professionally when I'm at work. And I will continue to do so. I am who I am. You see what you get. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So there is appropriate committee behavior and meeting behavior and floor session behavior. And I will tell you guys what I've experienced and what I plan to do. So in committee, committee is always, in-person committee. So not really what they're doing now, but in-person committee is always broadcast by audio at least. And it's usually broadcast by video as well, depending on the committee that's meeting. So you're always on. You're always on camera or on audio or both. Those meetings are always open to the public. People can always come in. So you need to be on your best behavior in that kind of instance. So I've seen a lot of side talking going on that's not productive, and folks on their phones and folks eating and clinking. It's just stuff that's really inappropriate. So you have people from all across the state that come in to testify and tell their story to the committee. And I believe that representatives and senators should give those witnesses or those testifiers, slipped into lawyer brain there for a minute. So give those testifiers their undivided attention all the time. Now, you always have researchers there. So if you have a question, say they say something that, I missed that, dollar amount, or where would this funding come from? You can always ask those questions. You can either pass notes or just lean across the table and whisper. All of the mics are always hot. So unless you're muting them manually yourself, you are going to get recorded saying stuff. So it's kind of interesting to go back now and hear what people are saying in their side conversations that weren't muted in-person committees. So it's just, something that I'm hyper aware of, and I don't plan to ever not be focused and paying attention every single second. This work that is done at the legislature is so vitally important, even if it's just the smallest, tiniest bill that affects the smallest, tiniest bit of, amount of people. That still matters. That's 100% of what matters to those folks. So even if it's a bill you disagree with, even if it's an amendment you disagree with, even if it's brought forth by an author that you can't stand, that person still deserves your respect and your engagement, and your constituents deserve that respect and engagement. So one other thing I want to touch on too is being prepared for committee. It drives, as a committee administrator, as a staff person, it drives me crazy when people get to the meeting and they haven't read the bills and they haven't read the House research file and they haven't done their due diligence to be able to ask really intelligent questions. It happens a lot. I mean, legislators are incredibly busy all the time, so it does happen. I'm the kind of nerd that wants to be prepared. So I want to walk into every meeting with questions ready to go. And then there's a lot of bills that are written with different cross-references, so to other statutes or maybe a federal code or whatever. That stuff's important to know. And that's, you do have researchers that can tell you that, and they've done the research and they know. But one thing I learned from a Republican representative that I've worked like physically close to, her office is down the row from mine. One thing I learned from her is to just check every single reference and see what it means and just see what you're talking about. That seems like bare minimum. So I'm definitely going to be doing that when I'm there. And having that law degree and that law background enables me to be really specific in my reading and my research, and that lends itself to being really, really prepared. Curtis, the state needs more nerds. Yes, nerds unite. I'm fully, yes, agreed, 100%. I take my glasses off for the the town halls, but I should put them back on and really lean into it. So in meetings too, I want to say online meetings, it's really easy to get distracted. It's really easy. Like I text my family, I live with my family. I text them every time I'm going to have a meeting like this to tell them, I'm unavailable from this time to this time. Can you please not slam doors, not mow the lawn, not burst into the room talking. And I do my best to mitigate the noise around me. And we, as staffers, tell folks that are coming on these meetings to do the same. So it's a bare minimum expectation that you have a quiet environment and be really focused and able to engage. You need to be intentional with that. So I have done that. I plan to continue to do that. And it's just that respect. It's showing respect to those folks that are at the meeting and have given their time. It's showing respect to the staff who've dedicated hours and hours and hours into the late nights and through the weekends to get stuff ready for that meeting. So to be kind of flippant and not be prepared and not be focused it's disrespectful. So I don't plan to do that. Floor behavior. Those floor sessions in person can go hours. You guys have all seen that. Very, very late nights. So you are, expected to pack snacks and pack a lunch, and a lot of folks have little to-go kits in their offices with, makeup and deodorant and hairbrushes and stuff. I know a lot of people have slept at the office before. I've slept at the office before on those late nights. A lot of staff do as well. So that being said, you still have got to pay attention. I mean, you are never going to see me on the floor on my phone playing games. Not a thing, not going to happen. If I'm on the floor, I'm on my phone, it's because I'm doing research for a bill or because I'm reaching out to someone to get clarification on something, or, arrange some kind of other situation that's happening. So that's bare minimum. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but that's how I plan to legislate. Because it's what we deserve, right? Carver County deserves a senator and 2 representatives and congresspeople and city, everyone to be fully engaged, to be asking good questions, getting those clarifications, bringing folks to the table that maybe were left out. And the preparedness aspect of it, I've touched on that. That's what we deserve. I don't want my representatives at any level walking into a meeting blind and not knowing what they're talking about. So having that preparation is key. The other thing is transparency. We talked a little bit about having transparency in our calendars who we're meeting with. I said I worked for Representative Brad Tabke, who had his calendar public. I plan to do the same thing, so you guys know who I'm meeting with, for how long, what the topic is about, that kind of thing. Will all be public information, and I'm always going to be available to talk, maybe not right away, but at least by email, text, phone, Facebook message, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. So having that transparency increases accountability, and that's what we all need. That's why a lot of folks are running. A lot of folks are unhappy because their politicians and their representatives and senators are not, they're kind of playing hide the ball, and that's unacceptable for me. Our tax dollars are paying our representatives and our senators to bring our voices to the Capitol in DC and in St. Paul. And I think it's an overwhelming nonpartisan or bipartisan feeling that we want our tax dollars to be put to the best use possible. I actually talked about that with a couple folks this week, business owners that are that were, self-admitting, Republicans, never voted for a Democrat. Some didn't even want to talk to me until I, told a little bit about my story. And then, we're willing to have those conversations. And even they have said, I would pay a little bit more on my taxes if it went to X, Y, or Z. So if we have that accountability and transparency, and we know that our tax dollars are being put to good use, I think people would get a lot more trust in government. And ideally, in an ideal world, we've got that two-way communication going. We've got a lot of, seats at the table, voices at the table that need to be heard, and we come up with really good legislation that way. So definitely what I plan to do. And then last thing I will say, Carver County deserves not partisan politic BS. I mean, this party nonsense of, I'm not going to talk to that person because they're a Democrat. I'm not going to talk to that person because they're from the Iron Range. Oh, that person won't change their mind on this, so they're not even worth having a conversation with. That's inaccurate, and that's not how you get good work done. Part of my training in law school was negotiation training. I took a 92-hour negotiation course at my law school, and it was like an intensive experience where we had to negotiate several different lawsuit settlements or contracts and that kind of thing. Divorce was part of it. That was fun. Those training techniques, I wish everybody in government could take, so you can understand tactics of like how to get together. You don't necessarily come out with this hard line of I'm not doing this and you're not doing this, and then you never find any middle ground, or you're refusing to talk to somebody because they don't feel the same way you do about one thing. There's always middle ground. There's always compromise. There's always something we can get done, and just digging our heels in the sand and refusing to have those conversations is not a good way to legislate. So I think my background in negotiation training and seeing it happen in real time at the Capitol, seeing what actually works and what doesn't, is going to give Carver County a really unique and experienced voice at the Capitol come November. Well, January would be the official start date. So definitely something that I'm wanting to bring for us. I think we're all really tired of stuff not getting done because this person says this or this person says that. That's not effective. It's not fun. It's like a TV show. I'm tired of it, and we're not going to play that game. So that's what I'll say about that. Beyond that, I'm not really into like attacking folks for anything that they've done. I don't want to play like the mudslinging game. So I'm gonna leave my comments at that. If you want to have a one-on-one conversation about something in particular, I'm more than happy to just reach out, and we'll set up a time to talk. All right. So last thing, if there's no other questions, I will just give you guys my rundown on future steps. So I think next week, there's been a lot of requests to have kind of themed town halls. So we're going to try to do a couple different themes. So like elections was today and decorum was today. I think climate change, climate crisis stuff is on the horizon for one of those town halls. Union and labor issues is another big one I really want to talk about. We've gotten quite a few requests to discuss that. So if you have a topic that you want to know about, maybe it's something you don't know about and you want to know more, or you want to know my stance on something, go ahead and submit that through the website, email me, text me. You guys all know how to get a hold of me. All that stuff's on the website. And I'm more than happy to do my research and talk about it. The other thing we're going to try to do, we're playing with like a split screen Facebook Live so we can have guest speakers. So I've got a couple in the works that might be fun to have. I've got a former teacher of mine who has been integral in the referendum stuff that happened last year and is going to happen in the future. So I'd love to give him a chance to be on here. And then I want to get a doctor from local place to speak, maybe about COVID-19, maybe about healthcare, whatever it might be. So if there's something that you guys want me to talk about, let me know. Nancy, there's no one more qualified than you to represent Carver County. Thank you. And Sally, thank you. You'd be a really great advocate for Carver County. You already know how to get things done at the Capitol. Yep, thank you. That is why I went into this work, to figure out how to get stuff done. We've seen the Senate sit on a lot of really good bills, really, really good bills this year. Bills that had bipartisan support, bills that didn't have a lot of money attached to them, bills that would change a lot of folks' lives for the better. And we just saw them sit. And I'm just so tired of it. So I do know how to get things done, and I plan to do that. So I really, really appreciate the support. I have an Irish and Czechoslovakian and Italian background, and my dad always says, like, oh, you're so, that's your Irish side, or that's your Czech side, that's so fiery. And there's a lot of jokes about my hair being fire colored because of my personality or whatever. But you see what you get what you see. This is it. And I do have that kind of go get 'em personality, and I always have, and I don't plan to change that. So I'm really ready to do something. We're paying those folks to legislate. Let's legislate. I can't wait. It's a tough race. We're all in the same boat. We're all stuck. Oh, hey, Pat. Yay. Hooray for the Irish side, right? My actual natural hair color is red too. So green hair, or green eyes, red hair, freckles. Very, very Irish appearing. So yeah. Anyway, this race is tough. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be disillusioned. There hasn't been someone with a D next to their name on the ballot elected in Carver County since 1990 to the state level. So it's tough. But like I said in some of these conversations, once I started explaining, why I was running and how I grew up, and I was, I'm from here, and kind of different things that are very different than like a St. Paul or Minneapolis Democrat. Even like joking, I do get in trouble at work all the time because I'll say, stuff that is supportive of a Republican or supportive of an independent, or, kind of pushing back and questioning things that I don't just vote party line and support everything the Democratic Party does. And I don't think Carver County's like that. So once we start having more of those conversations and people get to know this campaign and know what we stand for and know what we're going to fight for, that brings a lot more folks in. And this is the year to do it. Folks are really hopeful and positive, and they want some positivity. That's the one thing that just keeps recurring, is that folks see that I do have a positive attitude and a hopeful attitude of stuff we can get done. And we're all so tired of this negativity of ho-hum and doom and gloom and leading by fear. That's not my thing. So not going to do that. And I think a lot of folks feel the same way. In these conversations that we've been having all across the district, that's been the thing. You pick up the phone and you say, if you're a volunteer with the Addie Miller campaign, or if I'm calling, I'm running for office, yada, yada. One of the first questions always is, well, what party? So once you can get over that hurdle and you get someone having a good conversation, folks want to shut down when you start talking politics with them. But if you change that around, and it's not this us versus them and we're fighting, it's like, hey, we can get this done. We're community building. We're pushing for improvements to our community. Then people are engaged and they want to be. And we've seen that day and day and day out. That's just going to keep continuing to grow. We're in May right now. We have all the way until November. And I want to continue beyond the election, to continue bringing all these folks in and giving them positive hope for the future, for what we can get done. There's been too much not getting done because of that partisan stuff, and folks are excited to make that switch and put someone in there that can represent us to the best of our abilities, and get stuff done with a positive attitude. And I'm not, again, to reiterate, I'm not looking for fame. I'm not doing this to run for Congress someday. I'm really just doing this to bring our really unique voices to the Capitol and fight to get things that we need. So, okay, we've got about 45 seconds left. If there's any last minute questions, go ahead and pop them in the comments. If not, you guys know how to get a hold of me. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, email, text, phone call, website. All of that stuff can be found on the website as well. So again, that's addie4mn.com. That's spelled out, no letter, ADDIEFORMN.com. You do not have to live in the district to volunteer. I've got actually quite a few volunteers from across the district. Forgot to ask you about the American Promise Pledge. Is that the elections? Is that what we discussed at a meeting, Indivisible meeting a couple weeks ago? Jay? Sorry, there's a little delay too, so I'll respond. We'll keep this going for a little bit longer, just so I can respond to that American Promise Pledge, or I'll Google it really quick and then we can respond to that too. So like I said, you don't have to live in the district to volunteer. You can make phone calls from anywhere, from your house, anywhere. So if you want to be involved in our phone banking and texting operations, please get a hold of me. We will train you one-on-one. We won't send you in blind, and make sure you've got what you need to get that done. And it's really fun, you guys. It is really fun to actually connect with folks. And, some people don't want to talk, and that's fine. But some people really, they are looking for things to do. The getting big money out of politics. Right. Yes, absolutely. One really big barrier, huge barrier to folks like me running for any kind of office is it's difficult. I work a full-time job. It's actually more than full-time right now, nearing the end of session, it ramps up. And I have a part-time job when it opens back up, where I bartend during the weekends, and I'm still living at home. I don't have kids, and I'm not a homeowner yet. I am shopping. But folks that are working 2 or 3 jobs and have kids and have, a house, have all these other things that aren't retired with a lot of money and time to run, it's really, really difficult. One major thing that would help is if we could overturn Citizens United at the federal level and get big money out of politics. Corporations don't have a voice, shouldn't have a voice, and shouldn't be allowed to play in party politics. There's a lot of kind of independent expenditure stuff that happens where they're not necessarily coordinating with a campaign, but they're spending money usually to run a campaign against a candidate, or to support them. And there's a lot of limits. So I personally signed a pledge that I will not take corporations' money. I won't take money from corporations. I'm limited to what PAC money I can take. And I'm very transparent with how much money I've taken from PACs. To date, it's 0. So, and then we're limited to the lobbyist money that we can accept. And to date, I have only accepted $100, I believe, from a lobbyist who is actually my cousin, who just happens to be a lobbyist in DC. So there are certain limitations that exist now, and there are big, huge loopholes in how to get around them. We are going to see a lot of that in this district. I think it's a very flippable and winnable district. So I think both parties are going to be very invested in this district. Depending on who the opponent ends up being, it could be optically really an interesting race as well. So I'm a little nervous for that dark money that's going to come into this district. So the way we combat that as candidates, with the way that laws are set up right now, is to just be really transparent. And I'm always willing to be, our finance records are posted; those are online, and I will always be really transparent with what PACs have endorsed me or I've taken money from, what organizations have endorsed me that I haven't taken money from. We're working on a page on the website for that right now, and lobbyist money too. So there's not a ton we can do right now because it's so controlled. But if the American Promise Pledge is something I need to sign, I'm going to look into that, and I'm pretty sure I'll be able to sign that. So, I've always supported Dean Phillips in his run on getting big money out of politics, and that platform that he submitted, I think he wrote a bill like his first or second week in Congress to that effect. That's something that I support unequivocally. There's a couple different versions of it at the state level, and it works a little differently. FEC money, federal campaign money versus state campaign money, works a little bit differently, but there's definitely some stuff we can do to help with that. We don't want big corporations to be the voice of our politics. We want candidates who look like us, who live like us, who have our same shared lived experiences, be able to run and be able to do that on an even playing field. I mean, ideally, we would have publicly funded elections and limitations. Oh, well, if Dean Phillips has signed this pledge, I bet I should get on it. I don't know if can state candidates sign. If they can, I'm gonna look into it. Yeah, so ideally we have like publicly funded elections, and then we're all on a super even playing field where, you know, independent expenditures are limited, amount of spending and raising is limited, which it is currently too, but you know, it would look a lot differently if we could have that. I think our entire legislature would look a lot differently if we had folks that can find the time to run. You know, it's really, really hard. I think we'd have a lot more young folks, young families, you know, people of color, women in the legislature if it was a little, if there was fewer barriers to running. So not a lot of people are willing to do what I'm doing and give up every second of spare time to do this and to run a really tough race. So it's a big ask for people to do. I've always been like this. I've always been better under pressure and I like to be busy all the time and have a lot of things going. And when something is as important and meaningful as what we're trying to do here, I will give up every second of every day to get that done. But that's a big ask for a lot of people to do. So, you know, getting big money out of politics would help a lot with that. Jay, thank you for all this information too. I'm actually writing this down so I can go look into it and sign it and get back to you guys on that next week. American Promise Pledge. Yeah, I'm curious who else has signed it too. That's interesting. So, all right, we'll wrap up here. Thank you guys for your engagement. This gets better and better every week, so keep it coming. Host those watch parties. Share this video. Share the link for the next video. Keep those questions coming. Host watch parties, that kind of thing. And again, if you are in the unique, or not unique, but if you're in the position to donate, every little dollar counts. So we're going to be spending quite a bit on digital and mailers and that kind of thing. There's going to be a lot of money coming in from outside sources. So if you can have a $10, $20 recurring donation happening, that is hugely helpful. Only if you can. Okay, so don't feel like you have to, but if you can, just give what's meaningful to you. That's incredible. And again, I will reiterate, if you want to buy stamps from the Postal Service or from the USPS and send them over as a donation, we can make that happen too. That's really helpful. And that's dual purpose. It helps us get some mailers and thank yous out, and it helps keep the Postal Service afloat. So, and just keep sharing, keep telling your friends and neighbors, keep talking to folks from a safe social distance, keep spreading the word about this campaign and bringing folks into the table. All right. This table of the Addie Miller campaign is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger with more folks at the table. So I just want everyone to feel welcome here and feel like your voice matters and your opinion matters, because it does. This is how we get this done. Thank you, Molly. Put the donation link there in the comments. So check that out if you can donate. That would be really, really great. Really, thank you. So thank you, everyone, from the bottom of my heart for continuing to stay engaged and donate and volunteer and phone bank and text and get your, delegate ballots filled out and questions and sharing all these videos. As the pastor said, dig deep in your pocket and give. Yes, please. I don't have the same kind of pastor-like qualities that some other candidates have, but yeah, at the best. Yeah. All right. Well, everybody stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy. Reach out to me if anything, or just always available. Next week's going to be real crazy work-wise, so you won't see me in the comments on Facebook. I'll be really quite busy, but I will get back to you if you have a question or need something. So let me know. Otherwise, I will see you all same time next week. Ooh, we're 10 minutes over. Thank you for sticking with me. Go outside, enjoy the day, wash your hands, don't touch yours, and wear your mask in public. All right, guys. Thank you much. We'll see ya.